Welcome to Conversations with Keith. I'm Keith Lockhart, the conductor of the Boston Pops, and this is my chance to introduce you to some of the people on the stage and behind the scenes who make the Boston Pops America's orchestra. Boston has a history of being the epicenter of great ideas. The American Revolution got its start here. Free public libraries and free public education were ideas that took hold in Boston first. On the medical front, anesthesia for surgery and so many other life-saving procedures. Closer to our own time, a simple idea led to what became America's birthday party, the Boston Pops 4th of July Fireworks Spectacular. Over the last 47 years, millions of people have gathered on the Charles River Esplanade to celebrate America, its accomplishments and triumphs, but also its dreams and its challenges. Millions more all over the country have joined us there virtually. This year, for the first time in nearly half a century, the Boston Pops won't be able to host a live party for Americans on the Esplanade. Instead, we will broadcast a wonderful retrospective show featuring an amazing cast of artists who have joined us on stage over the last few years. It will air from 8 to 11 on July 4th, locally on WHDH, and nationally and beyond on Bloomberg TV and the other platforms of Bloomberg Media. There will be new content prepared especially for this broadcast in this extraordinary time. The 1812 Overture and the Stars and Stripes Forever will close the musical part of the program, and then we will be treated to a truly great fireworks display. I've had the honor and privilege to stand on the podium for more of those celebrations than any other conductor, but I've been lucky to stand on the shoulders of giants. One of those giants is Arthur Fiedler, whose statue stands on the Esplanade near the Hatch Shell in tribute to the man who started the Esplanade Concerts in 1929 and who conducted the first Boston Pops Fireworks Spectacular. But the man whose simple idea started all of this and who shepherded and supported the concerts for the next 43 years joins me today on Conversations with Keith. Please welcome Boston businessman, entrepreneur, and philanthropist, David Mugar. Hi, David, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm excited about this conversation because I realized as I wrote out some questions for you that I don't know the answers to all these questions. Here I've done 25 of these, but you know, to have this chance to talk to you up close and personal, you're the only one I can think of who has really seen the progression, the evolution of this show from 1974 on to the present day. So tell us the story, if you will, Uncle David, of how this all began.
Actually, I had gone to the Esplanade concerts many times over the years, and I was aware of the fact that they were sort of dwindling in audience participation and attendance. And I thought it would be good if we somehow give it a jolt of adrenaline and get something to do to bring the people back to the Esplanade. And I envisioned doing this just for 1 year and getting people rebaptized, in a sense, to the Esplanade. So I talked to Arthur Fiedler about it. We were in my car one night, I think exactly, I was on Commonwealth Avenue, and I never really discussed music with him at all, because that's usually the best thing to do with someone really famous, is stay out of their home turf, stay out of their home turf. And so eventually I said, Mr. Fiedler, I'll tell you what, if what do you think of the idea of playing the 1812 Overture at the Esplanade this July 4th? Because that's the one night that you do conduct there, and then he usually is off to San Francisco the next day. And I said, I'll try to find some howitzers and some local church bells in Back Bay, and we'll end it with a fireworks display. What do you think? And he says, geez, sounds great to me, David. So something we really should try to make happen.
And how did you convince the churches to ring their bells?
We were looking for church bells and found the church bells of the Church of the Advent on Burma Street, right 1 block away from the Esplanade. And so it was a natural there, and that would work well. They said they'd love to ring the bells on national television. And so we arranged for that. The fireworks, I did what I guess anybody who doesn't know anything about it would do, and that is I looked in the yellow pages and I called one of the only companies there that was advertising and asked them whether they could do a show on July 4th. And they said, sure, we'd love to do it. And so they were in. So it all got put together pretty easily.
So that first one was a pretty big success. You after years of the thing kind of slowly deteriorating, you brought, I think, 70,000 people or so there that very
right.
first year. But even after that, I mean, you only had 2 years between that and something that really made the entire
that
event
first year,
explode.
as I said, we were going to probably do it just once, but then we had a number of different things that we noticed that we could have improved upon. So I said, hey, let's do it one more year. And we did. We did it in '75, and it was even more successful. I forget the crowd there, but I think it was probably like about 150,000. And we said, wow, we've really got something here. And then for 1976, it was the bicentennial of the country. And CBS they were putting together a whole program of, they wanted to devote their entire broadcast day to covering various things around the country for the 4th of July, especially. And so they put us on the list, and they sent some producers to Boston. And they decided, and what they thought it would be just a 3-camera shoot, and it eventually expanded to, I believe, 5 cameras, because they got the drift as what was going to be happening there, and put it all together. It was quite something. And then for the 4th itself, when the day took place, it became, of course, legendary, and went into the Guinness Book of World Records as the largest largest classical concert ever in the world. 400,000 people showed up on the Esplanade. It was just incredible. Arthur Fiedler's reaction to it was, oh my God. He was really genuinely surprised, and he really couldn't believe at times what he was seeing, especially for the 1976 concert. We have some video of him on the roof of the building overlooking the Esplanade, where we used to run the concert from before the Unified Command Center was set up. And he's up there, and he gets up to the top of the roof, and he looks at the crowd, and he says, "Oh my God, where are they all coming from, and why are they coming here?" And we tried to impress upon them, well, they're coming to see the Boston Pops, and they're coming to see you.
Creepers, creepers.
Come on over here and take a look at this.
Where, this thing? I want to look at the crowd here. Hello, how are you? Oh my God. Look at that. Is that a fantastic?
I tell you, you better watch this.
Unbelievable. 2 hours to go. Look at that.
What do you think?
Not that. Way over there, way over there. They're coming like droves.
This is a beautiful sight. Look at this, as far as the eye can see.
This is really, I never dreamed this.
It's the greatest
Look at
crowd
that
ever.
pouring in from all sides.
They see you up here.
Is that what they're yelling about?
Yeah, they do. They see you. Wonderful. Wave to them. Go out like the Pope. It's your only chance.
Bless you.
Put a walkie-talkie here, nobody listen to it.
To me? Yeah, I'll be right back.
You know, something that strikes me, it's hard to think of anybody watching what we're talking about now who has not seen the 4th of July either in person or on television, our special 4th of July celebration, and has a very strong impression of what happens there during the concert. But I think what people don't know about are the thousands of collective hours of work that go into setting something up like this. I mean, you can't just plop an orchestra down in the middle of a park, invite 500,000 people and play a concert and have it end up on TV. Take us a little bit through, you were executive producer of this show from its inception up till 2016. Take us through a little of the stuff that I never see.
It's not a very pretty subject, but the first thing that came to mind was we're going to need lots of portable restrooms.
The porta potty question.
That's right. You have to start at the end. We arranged to have, with the crowd previously being 400,000, we hope that 300 scattered around in different locations on the Esplanade would suffice. And generally it does. It's certainly pressing things right to the limit, I think. It would be wonderful if we had 500, but they're not cheap to rent on even one day, especially a holiday. Nevertheless, the 300 have been used pretty much every year. And that was one thing, of course, easy to cross off the list. And that takes place every year. Other various things, people are going to require food, water.
This would have been the 47th year of this particular special concert. But I'm wondering, I'm going to ask you an impossible question. Can you name your favorite guest artist in those 47 years?
Actually, I think I'll name two for you. Buckwheat Zydeco.
Oh, I loved him. You said you had another one in mind.
Neil Diamond. There was something about the way that he was such a showman and has so much experience having performed in so many different concerts. He sang Sweet Caroline. And the audience, of course, was so used to hearing it at Fenway Park. And it's become almost a Boston song. And when he started singing it, the audience just came in with him and sang with him, and he had them in the palm of his hand.
All right, I'm going to need everybody to sing now. Are you going to help me or what? Take a deep breath. Here we go. Sweet Caroline, good times never seem so good. Sing it, come on. I've been inclined they never would. Come on now, sweet Caroline. Good times never seem so good. I've been in flight. Do you believe they never would? Sweet
So, an interesting question about all of this. I remember also very well in 2016 when you stepped down after, what was that? 41, 42, 43 years, I guess.
43 years.
As executive producer of the show. And a matter of fact, we have a wonderful clip, great interview you did with Lisa Hughes at that point, and some clips from that particular show that we're going to share with the audience now.
I'm one of the luckiest guys on earth to see something happen that I had no idea would last for 43 years. This is my contribution to Boston and to America.
And what a huge, heartfelt contribution it is. A gift that's priceless, iconic, one we all love. And tonight, David Mugar is producing his last July 4th spectacular.
Honestly, if I could step into a time machine and roll everything back to July 4th of 1974, the first year, I would do it all over again.
It all started because of David's friendship with Pop's maestro Arthur Fiedler. Mugar suggested Fiedler add the 1812 Overture with cannons to the Independence Day concert. And while he was at it, what about a fireworks display? And then, 1976. The country's bicentennial and a history-making Boston crowd. Mugar's suggestions now define our city's celebration.
I want it for the city because it's a wonderful showcase event.
But it's bittersweet.
Very much so. Very bittersweet. Really behind everything that I've done is probably the values greatly of my father. He was an immigrant from Armenia. When he landed on Ellis Island, he felt as though he owed a debt to the country. And I think the 4th of July is my way of having to give back to America to partly repay that debt.
How do you do that? How does it feel to hand over the reins after this was your baby? It still is your baby, I think, but to formally hand over the reins after 43 years.
It's not easy. I think every ball player has to face that decision at some point in his career. And it was time. I'm now 81, and I knew that I wasn't able to navigate and move around the Esplanade as easily as prior years, for sure.
Oh, you drive that golf cart like a maniac, though, man.
Yeah, I know. Wonder how many people I've knocked over with it.
We won't talk about that.
Yeah, right. I knew it was my time, and it's an important thing to recognize in life, that we all come to a certain time in life when we just can't do certain things, and usually we're better off to face facts and turn the reins over. We had some wonderful people that I had worked with for many, many years, and they were fully capable of running everything, and they have run it for the last few years now that I have not been actively involved. They do a great job. Pam Picard, Rich McDonald, the two producers, and now with the Massachusetts State Police and a lot of the same people involved over many years. Everybody has a real history, and they know exactly what to do.
I have to say, in 1995, when I did my first one of these, I had been conductor of the Boston Pops for 4 or 5 months at that point, and had done the traditional spring season in Symphony Hall. And everything went by in a rush. And when people ask me these days what I remember of that time, I say, well, you know, it's a trauma response. I don't remember very much of it, actually. I just put one foot in front of the other and did it. But one of the first things I really remember is walking out of up the stairs onto the side of the hatch shell extension there at the beginning of the concert, and being greeted by a roar and an energy that was that you could feel. It was visceral. I mean, it was, you know, the roar almost knocked me back. And I remember just looking out at that sea of people. People ask, well, what's it like to conduct for 500,000 people? I said, well, it's about the same as like for 70,000 people, because you can't see beyond the first 70,000 people anyway. But you can feel somehow that there are so many people there, all gathered together with a common purpose of celebration and commitment to this country, and with the Boston Pops at its very epicenter. And I am so glad that you got up the nerve to talk to the famously somewhat curmudgeonly Maestro Fiedler about a musical idea, because you really created something that will outlast you. It will outlast me. What do you see in the future for this tradition, for this grand living thing that happens every year on the Esplanade? What does your crystal ball tell us is going to be the future of the Boston Pops Fireworks Spectacular?
Well, it's a great question, and something that I have thought about, and I've begun talking to Pam Picard about this as a co-producer. And, you know, should any part of this change, or, you know, is this a tradition that should just be continued the same way, countless for decades and decades? And I guess, more adaptable. I would want to try to have it change with the times, and have it be more responsive to whatever America is at that time. Honestly, this year now, we're faced with problems in society and all that we never envisioned previously, we've never faced. And I'm not sure that there's anything musically that can be done about that. But basically, America is changing. It's always changing and always adapting. And that's one of the keys to its success. And I would hope that the 4th of July adapts to change. How? I don't really know, Keith. It's a great question, and it's faced by countless people and countless organizations all around this country, sports teams, everything. What do they do when times change? They have to basically change with them.
Well, I can speak on behalf of the people who make the decisions regarding this concert these days, as certainly one of them, and tell you that I think we take this, the best way you can honor a tradition is not to freeze it in amber and pretend that things aren't changing around you, and that it somehow will mean the same thing if you just keep it immutable the whole time. The best way to honor a tradition is to understand that it has to be reflective of America as it is and as it wants to be as well. A couple of times we've gone through some rough patches in the last 25 years. And a couple of times people have said, well, you know, it's hard to celebrate America while this is going on, while this particular tension, while this unearthing of systemic problems that go way before that, and you know, that seem at least to have captured everybody's attention now, and maybe that will lead to real change. But I always say that what we're celebrating and what America is a dream. It is an ongoing dream. It is a concept, and the great thing is you never really get there. You have to keep looking at it and saying, where are we falling short? Where are we succeeding? And so that I think that the celebration makes sense year after year, because it's not only about what America is, it's about what America could be. And if we can all unite behind that, then I think it is a time that music can send a very powerful message about us, about our achievements, and about our aspirations. We'll be in touch with you, because your voice is still one of the very important ones, and it is, I have to say personally, it's a great resource to have. You know, I never met Mr. Fiedler, as you always called him, no matter how long your friendship ran. I never met him, saw him on TV a few times, of course, over the years. But I'm really glad to have this direct connection to how it all began. And happy 4th of July, David. And I don't know, I will probably be working on my barbecuing chops, I suspect. But on top of that, I know what I'll be doing at 8 o'clock, and that is watching this wonderful retrospective on WHDH and on Bloomberg Media, and having a little bit of a tear in my eye that I can't actually be there doing it.
I know the feeling. And I would like to say how very, very fortunate the Boston Symphony and Boston Pops were to be able to land you in so young, and you brought such vitality and a new, fresh approach to look to so many different things. It's been such a pleasure to watch you grow into this role, and you handle it beautifully, Keith. I'm really proud of you, and I hope you continue for a long time. I know that I think you told someone, some reporter recently, that you probably wouldn't be around for 50th anniversary, but you never know.
You never know. I never say never, right?
That's right. That's right.
Anyway, all best.
So thank you.
Happy
Thank you
4th
very
of July, and we'll see you on the Esplanade next year.
Great.
Thank you for watching Conversations with Keith. To see more musician-created content, visit bostonpops.org/@home. Don't miss the next video by hitting subscribe. We'll see you next time.
Keep the music playing. Scan this QR code image with your smartphone's camera app to donate today.